An old man caught a rabbit. He was planning to take it home to make a rabbit pie. Right then, something unexpected happened. In a state of overexcitement, the old man had a sudden heart attack and collapsed on the spot. The rabbits politely watched as he was carried onto the ambulance. After the old man left, the rabbits jumped at the chance to become the new masters of the garden. They helped themselves to all the fruits and vegetables in the yard and invited the other animals from the forest to join them. The animals grew bolder and bolder. Setting their sights on the big mansion, they threw a wild party inside, having no idea that the old man's nephew Thomas was now the legal heir and was currently heading toward the estate. That night, the duck in charge of keeping watch spotted someone approaching. It immediately alerted its companions. The small animals scrambled in a panic to find a hiding spot. Thomas pushed open the door and saw the massive mess, thinking for a moment that his eyes were playing tricks on him. Then a little pig suddenly showed itself. The silence was completely broken. With their cover blown, the animals had no choice but to scurry out of the villa in a frenzy. The rabbits lost their home once again. Peter Rabbit was furious. The next day, he planned to sneak into the estate and cause trouble just like before. But he found that Thomas had not only reinforced the fences, but also blocked up all the old holes. Every path for the rabbits to enter the garden was cut off. But a little obstacle like that couldn't stop Peter. While Thomas wasn't paying attention, he and the fat rabbit climbed onto the roof, intending to slide in along the cable.
What I tell you? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Rats!
The two of them ended up running for their lives in terror. The agile Peter managed to escape, but the fat rabbit wasn't so lucky. His clothes got snagged on a metal spike on the fence. Thomas grabbed him by the ears and stuffed him into a sack, preparing to throw him into the river. The rabbits quickly caught up with the train to stage a rescue. Peter ran to the front of the train and popped the hood, forcing Thomas to get off and check the engine. During the rescue, Peter almost broke his own ears. Fortunately, the other partners had already swapped the sacks. The fat rabbit escaped safely. Later, Thomas went into town and bought several boxes of remote-controlled explosives from a shop, intending to level the rabbit burrow to the ground. On his way out, he happened to run into Bee, who was heading home. Thomas invited her to walk with him right away. The two of them hit it off and chatted the whole way. Bee liked him so much she even invited him to her house. The seeds of love began to quietly sprout between them. Peter Rabbit saw all of this happening, and the more he watched, the more bitter he felt. Finally, he couldn't stand it anymore and kicked the door open to teach Thomas a lesson. But Thomas grabbed Peter and pulled him into a hug right in front of Bee. Both the man and the rabbit were trying their hardest to stay composed. Every time Bee turned her back, a fierce fight broke out instantly. The moment Bee looked back, the two of them went right back to acting like best friends. They just kept brawling every chance they got. Thomas used a paintbrush to pin Peter against the wall. Right then, Bee happened to walk in. Seeing Peter with a painting in his mouth, she thought he had ruined her artwork. Thomas took the opportunity to make things worse, and Peter Rabbit was kicked out of the house by Bee. Thomas gave a smug, cold laugh. Unaware that this had completely ignited the rabbit's rage, they began a regime of intense training, vowing to make Thomas pay the price. With their skills rapidly improving, the moment for revenge finally arrived. That morning when Thomas opened his eyes, he found a rabbit sitting at the foot of his bed staring at him. He jumped out of bed and his hand hit a mousetrap. His other hand didn't escape either. Thomas stood up in a rage, only to get hit in the face with a pitchfork. Fuming, he chased them to the top of the stairs. His foot slipped and he landed in a wheelbarrow, sliding all the way down to the first floor. The rabbits were quite satisfied with this victory, but Thomas wasn't going to just sit there and take it. He set up an electric fence all around the estate and smeared peanut butter all over it.
Look away!
However, this group of rabbits was incredibly smart and didn't fall for it. Not only were they unharmed, but they also quietly rewired the circuit. They even put on a show of being electrocuted in front of Thomas, while actually happily licking off the peanut butter. When Thomas went out to check his hand, hit the doorknob, and he was blasted backward by the shock. He tried the back door, but that was electrified too. After climbing onto the balcony, he got smart and used his clothes to test the way first. But the pipes and light fixtures were all electrified as well. Thomas fell from the roof and was knocked unconscious on the spot. Only waking up late into the night, Thomas was beyond livid and grabbed the explosives to blow up the rabbit hole. Right then, Bee came out and told him to stop. However, the next day, Thomas had no intention quitting. He grabbed the explosives and started a frantic bombing run against the rabbits. Peter was caught by him. Just as Thomas was about to finish him off, Bee heard the commotion and ran outside. Thomas had no choice but to pretend he was playing with the rabbit, releasing Peter right in front of Bee. But as he left, the remote in his pocket slipped to the ground. To reveal Thomas's true colors, Peter pressed the remote, setting off a chain reaction. A large tree was blown down and crashed into Bee's house. Bee decided Thomas was the one responsible for everything and broke up with him for good. Bee decided to move away and Thomas returned to the city. Peter Rabbit couldn't find it in himself to be happy. Even though he got what he wanted, he had personally destroyed Bee's home and his own. He began to feel deep regret. To make up for everything, Peter and the fat rabbit rushed to the station and caught a train to the city. They tracked down Thomas. Thomas nearly had a breakdown when he saw them. But after Peter offered a sincere apology, Thomas finally chose to make peace. To win Bee back, they switched between all kinds of transportation, finally catching her before she could leave. Peter also admitted his mistake to Bee, pulling out the the remote to explain that he was the one who set off the explosives. B understood their intention and reconciled with Thomas. However, the buyer of the estate had already shown up to take over the house. Peter Rabbit and his friends took action immediately. First, they had a raccoon stand on top of the wall to scare the couple half to death. Then they wired the doorknob to the power supply. The buyer was electrocuted the moment he tried to open the door. After getting inside, they were scared into a scream by a pig falling from the ceiling. The buyer didn't even care about his deposit and ran away without looking back. In the end, the small animals stayed to guard the garden with Thomas, and they lived happily together from then on.